My friends, Linea and Ethereum and Consensus are not replacing XRP. For goodness sakes, goodness, let me show you again 100% proof that Linea, Ethereum, and anything built on Ethereum cannot replace the XRP ledger, RippleNet, and the interledger protocols. Absolute nonsense. The idea that some XRP YouTubers that have like 80,000 followers started panicking 2 weeks ago because Swift announced that they were using Consensus and Linea, to me is absolutely baffling. I could make a 40-hour deep dive right now showing how Swift is using Ripple and XRP. So I'm going to show you right now the proof that it cannot replace XRP. It's not replacing XRP. And then I'm going to show you how Swift is using a multinational shared ledger. Now, for you that have seen my videos, you know how I prove that the shared ledger is the XRP ledger. I show, again, I keep repeating myself, the shared ledger, regulated liability network, regulated settlement network, the unified ledger, shared ledger concept, because sometimes they say concept, the Finternet, it's all the XRP ledger. And again, I will show that at the very end, but I'm going to show you now documents dating back for 2022 from Swift showing that they're using a shared ledger. They're using a multinational, transnational network for settlement. I've done 2 deep dives on this. Like I said, I could probably do a 40-hour deep dive showing how Swift is using Ripple. So let me show you the proof, 100 million %, trillion %, gazillion %, that literally Swift is using Ripple and this Linea BS. Oh my goodness. Can't even believe people are thinking that Ethereum and Linea are going to replace XRP. Guys, come on. Come on. All right. Anyways, I'm here to help, guys. I'm here to help. So the AI here, I asked the AI to explain it for me because his English is better than mine. So explain to me why Linea and Ethereum, anything built on Ethereum, is not going to replace XRP. It cannot replace XRP, the XRP ledger, and RippleNet. The AI literally gave me like 2 or 3 pages here. I asked to make it somewhat short, still gave me like 3 pages. So I'm going to go through this real quick. Hit this one. Linea and Ethereum, while powerful blockchain technologies, serve distinct purposes from XRP, the XRP ledger, and RippleNet, and they are not bridge assets in the way that XRP is designed to function. Here's a concise explanation of why they don't replace the need for XRP-based systems. Linea and Ethereum overview. Linea is a layer 2 scaling solution on Ethereum. So it's a ZK EVM, it's a rollup, using zero-knowledge rollups to process transactions off-chain for lower transactions and faster speeds, with settlements finalized Ethereum. It enhances Ethereum scalability for dApps, DeFi, and other use cases, but isn't optimized for cross-border payments. It's not meant for cross-border payments. Ethereum is a general-purpose Layer 1 blockchain for smart contracts and decentralized applications. It's not specifically designed for rapid, low-cost international transfers and faces scalability and cost challenges without Layer 2 solutions like Linea. Guys, in order to do this is just cross-border. This is just going from fiat to fiat. That's not the Internet of Value as a whole. The Internet of Value is not only fiat to fiat, it's literally any asset to any asset. So Ethereum and Linea can't even do fiat to fiat. How the heck are they going to do any asset to any asset? So tokenized bond, from a tokenized bond to a tokenized real estate, from tokenized real estate to tokenized derivatives. How is it going to act as a bridge asset? Where is it going to find the liquidity to go from any asset to any asset when it doesn't even have the liquidity, the speed, and what it needs to go from fiat currency to fiat currency? It's ridiculous, guys. Oh my goodness, guys. It's not a bridge asset. There's nothing like the XRP ledger, Ripple, and Stellar for cross-border and cross-asset. No other blockchains are purpose-built for that. You need the XRP ledger, you need the interledger protocol, you need RippleNet for the network, you need the liquidity, you need the multi-hop systems that RippleNet has. You have to have the decentralized exchange that Ripple has. The XRP ledger has a decentralized exchange. You need that. You need the very advanced automated market makers that RippleNet has. You need to have the order books that the XRP ledger have. You have to have all of those things. Plus, again, you need to have RippleNet. You have to have the network of banks. You have to have the liquidity. No other blockchains can even remotely come close to 1% what Ripple has. And Stellar as well has some of it. It doesn't have everything that XRP has, but Stellar is also for cross-border, but it's mainly for small, medium enterprise and for peer-to-peer. So I'm not dissing Stellar. I'm fully aware that Stellar is playing a role in cross-border. So the idea that anything is just And first of all, guys, my goodness, the idea that, oh, Swift is going to start building on a new blockchain now, they're going to start a new blockchain and they're going to start literally building on it now. RippleNet's been started like since 2004. Ripple itself, not RippleNet. RippleNet literally launched in 2016, which is 9 years ago. They've been building this network of banks and liquidity and everything. We see documents from Ryan Fugger talking about Ripple in 2004, the same year that the ISO 20022 standard was created, because you need the ISO 20022 standard to have that internet value that Ripple is building. So do you really think that Swift is just going to start using another blockchain? They're going to start building another blockchain with consensus? And oh my goodness, guys, I'm here to help. I'm trying to help. All right, so I'm not even going to go. So I'll just, again, XRP Ledger. XRP is a cryptocurrency designed as a bridge asset for cross-border payments, enabling fast, low-cost transaction between fiat currencies. So it's going to kill me 2 pages here. Exactly what I told you of why it's absolutely impossible that Linea and Ethereum can replace XRP. So I'm just going to go to conclusion here because I have so much stuff to show you, because the proof that literally Swift is using XRP is so unbelievable. There's so much proof, like I said, that, I got to try to jump here because this video is going to be 20,000 hours if I show you everything that there is to show. All right, so conclusion. Linea and Ethereum are powerful for scalable, decentralized applications, but lack the specialized design of XRP as a bridge asset, and the XRP Ledger / RippleNet's focus on fast, low-cost, cross-border payments. They serve different niches. Ethereum and Linea for general-purpose blockchain ecosystems, and XRP-based systems for optimized financial transactions. The two can coexist, as seen with Swift's exploration, without one replacing the other. Swift and Ethereum. Oh my goodness, guys. All right, so let's look at the announcement here. 2 weeks ago, when everybody started panicking. So this is on the Swift website, my friends. Swift website, right here. Swift to add a blockchain-based ledger. Oh, interesting. At Swift, our mission has always been to continually innovate and elevate the cross-border payments experience. Cross borders, right? Today, we are taking a pivotal step forward, adding a blockchain-based shared ledger. It's a shared ledger. Isn't that interesting? So it's blockchain-based shared ledger to our technology infrastructure. This landmark initiative announced that Sibos, it's not a landmark initiative. They've been working, oh my goodness, they've been working with XRP for like 7 years. There never was a competition between the two. This is a joke. Ripple is the only blockchain company literally sitting on the governance body of the ISO 20022 messaging standard. With Swift, this is a Swift messaging standard, and Ripple is the only blockchain company literally guiding the ISO 20022 standard. Unbelievable. This landmark initiative announced that Sibos 2025 in Frankfurt will extend Swift's trusted platform into a digital environment, unlocking the potential for instant, always-on transaction at global scale and accelerating the industry's transition to digital finance across more than 200 countries and territories. You really think that literally Ethereum has a settlement network that's touching 200 countries? No, that's RippleNet. That's RippleNet, my friends. Swift to add a blockchain-based ledger. Swift, together with a group of over 30 global financial institutions, has begun designing. They haven't begun, like I told you. This is all deception, guys. Come on. For those of you who have done research, you know that they've been doing everything to hide XRP from us. So, has begun designing and developing a shared digital ledger. Like I said, do you really think that they're going to start designing a shared ledger right now? Ripple admitted in 2018, Brad Garlinghouse admitted that they had 200 banks at the time connected to RippleNet, and they were connecting 5 to 6 banks per week. Now, some people say that he had said it was 2 banks per week they were connected, but I remember him saying 5 to 6 banks, even if it was 2 banks. 2 banks per week in 2008, that's 100 banks per year. That's 7 years ago. That's 700 banks right there, some of the most powerful banks in the world, and they already had 200 connected that they were admitting to. So that's almost 900 banks. We know that they're connecting with CLS and all these different payment networks, and we know they're working with Swift. Like I said, I'm going to post my 2 deep dives showing you a ridiculous amount of evidence that they're working with Swift. For now, I'm doing another deep dive. I'm going to show you more evidence that this specific announcement is technically the XRP ledger. Have begun, again, BS, developing a shared digital ledger with the first use case focused on real-time 24/7 cross-border payments. Do you think Ethereum is not built for real-time 24/7 cross-border payments? Cross borders, my friend. That means cross asset, going from fiat to fiat. You're going from a euro to a Canadian dollar, to the Canadian dollar to the US dollar, from a peso to a euro, from Japanese yen, everything from one currency to another. You really think Ethereum is designed for that? Oh my goodness. The blockchain-based shared ledger secure real-time log of transactions between financial institutions will start with a conceptual prototype with consensus. Yeah, bull BS. Combining a shared ledger, the XRP ledger, with Swift's existing messaging APIs and ISO 2022 creates an even more powerful construct. Again, guys, keep in mind, Ripple's the only blockchain company on the governance council for the ISO 20022 messaging standard that Swift created. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? If you have any doubt that literally Swift is using anything else but XRP, I promise you owe it to yourself. Give yourself 30 minutes here and you will never have a doubt again. And if you still have a doubt for some odd reason, I'm going to post another 2 deep dives at the end of this video for you to watch that I've done specifically on Swift. Guys, I'm telling you, if you have any doubts, it's because you haven't watched this video. And the 2 other videos, especially just this one, will be enough. But I'll post the other 2 just to put some extra frosting on the cake. I'll post the other 2 deep dives I've done on Swift at the end of this. All right, so let's jump here. I'm going to show you the shared ledger. They're talking as if this is a new shared ledger that they're building. I'm going to show you a Swift document here dating back May 2022. Now, in this recent report, they're acting as if this is a new shared ledger that they're going to start building. But here's a document here, like I said, May 2022, coming from the Swift Institute Working Paper number 2020-002. All right, and they're going to talk about the shared ledger. You're going to like this one, and it's going to use a mechanism to connect national CBDCs. Wow, that sounds, guys, just bear with me. If I'm not explaining fast enough, just put me on high speed or something. But do not miss this. Do not miss this, my friend. Oh my goodness. All right, so shared ledger. All right, so right here, the article talks about international payments, cross-border payments, all that stuff. This is the form of record keeping often referred to as a blockchain or more broadly distributed shared ledger. We do not wish to limit the scope of our inquiry. So it mentions shared ledger 3 times in this document. This is the 2nd time. As noted, one of the promises of new technologies of money and payments, including stablecoins, e-monies, and CBDCs, is simplifying these processes through disintermediation of commercial banks. Instead of holding money with commercial banks, so what they're trying to say here is instead of using nostro-vostro accounts in the corresponding banking system, instead of holding money with commercial banks, all money holdings could be recorded on a single shared ledger, an essentially single closed system with no need for subsequent settlement when money is moved. So you don't need to use correspondent banking is what they're technically saying here. But unless people have done a ton load of research, you won't understand really what they're saying here. But this is what they're saying here. No need for correspondent banking anymore. An essentially single closed system. So this could be based on some form of distributed ledger technologies such as those emerged to support cryptocurrencies, but could equally well be based on more traditional. This is complete BS. They're trying to say that maybe you could use PayPal and Alipay. It's complete BS. Complete BS. Now, one of the money shots, one of many money shots in this video. Such a shift would be considerably simpler from an operational perspective than existing arrangements. In the context of using CBDC in international payments, all that would be required is an efficient mechanism for connecting the different national ledgers. They're talking about CBDCs here. They're talking about connecting nations, connecting national ledgers are reformed along the lines discussed in Section 5. Below is the technical support of the kind explored in the recent experiments with MCBDCs. So they're saying all that there would be needed to connect CBDCs for international payments would be an efficient mechanism for connecting the different national ledgers. So efficient mechanism to connecting CBDCs. I will show you that mechanism now, my friends. So I know some of you have probably seen this a million times, but here is connecting mechanism. Your mechanism for connecting different national networks, different national ledgers. Right here, this is your mechanism. The XRP ledger you see here, the XRP ledger is called the global RTGS. The RTGS here, real-time gross settlement system, this is your national system here. Now, Swift is saying that all that would be required is an efficient mechanism for connecting the different national ledgers. Efficient mechanism. I couldn't remember the exact word the document said, that's why I came back here. So again, here's your efficient mechanism. The real-time gross settlement systems are the payment systems for nations. So every central bank in the world, 99% of central banks have what are called real-time gross settlement systems, and these are the national systems for the nation. So you see in this document here, real-time gross settlement systems, you see all the national banks here. You see all the different central banks, the Bank of Japan, Target 2, Fedwire, Federal Reserve. You see the different systems that the central banks are using. And you see how they're all, here's your connecting mechanism, the ILP, the Interledger Protocol, and the XRP ledger. These are your connecting mechanisms. And that's why the XRP ledger is called the global RTGS, because it's the RTGS system for all the RTGS. Again, that's why it's called the global RTGS. And if that's not enough for some people, let me read to you what it says here. The Interledger Protocol will enable financial institutions and central banks to make their existing infrastructure and processes interoperable with other currencies, asset classes, and the XRP ledger. The global liquidity marketplace. It says that the XRP ledger is the global liquidity marketplace and the global decentralized RTGS. And notice here how it's saying that it's making it interoperable not only with fiat currencies, but with asset classes. Because I told you earlier, it's not only this Internet of Value that they're talking about, that they're building, it's not only about going from fiat currency to fiat currency, it's from going cross-asset, any type of asset. You can go from a fiat currency, from the Canadian dollar, to a tokenized bond, from a tokenized bond to a yen, tokenized real estate to the peso, from the peso. So you can go from tokenized real estate, tokenized art, tokenized collectibles, even coupons, even gift certificates. As long as it's on a blockchain, it can trade using XRP as that bridge asset. Okay, so again, like Ethereum is not doing this. That's what I was explaining to you earlier, and this is again more proof of what I'm explaining, because it's not only about cross currency, it's also about cross asset. That's why it's called the Internet of Value. You're moving any type of value to any other type of value. Okay, so now here it's saying that it's explained in section 5, and it talks about MCBDCs. MBridge, MCBDCs, multi-CBDC. That's again another word they use for the XRP ledger. So chapter 5 here, I took chapter 5 and I literally put it in the AI and I said, tell me all the similarities that this chapter here in the Swift document, remember this is a Swift document here, dating back in 2022, and their recent, talking about shared ledger, and their recent announcement talking about a new shared ledger. Oh really? They're talking about in 2022. And they're literally building the ISO 20022 standard with Ripple, going back 2000 up to 2004 is when they initiated the ISO 20022. So you really think this is a new concept? Guys. All right, so let's see what the AI said. So I asked the AI to tell me this document here, number 5, or is it number 5 here at the bottom, the whole paragraph, number 5, we're explaining all of this here, Forex market, foreign CBDC, going from one central bank to another, everything. And I told the AI right here, tell me all the similarities that this chapter here, this document here has with RippleNet, the XRP ledger, Interledger Protocol, the CBDC platform that Ripple has, everything. Tell me the similarities. It gave me so many pages. Look at everything it told me. Similarities with RippleNet and its technologies. It literally gave me so many pages of all the similarities that I literally had to tell the AI, please give me a shorter overview, right? Because, oh my goodness. The article's vision, so I said, please give me a shorter overview. The article's vision for CBDC-based international payments aligns closely with Ripple's technology, including RippleNet, XRP Ledger, Ripple's CBDC platform, and the Interledger Protocol. Here's the key similarities. Again, I asked it to give me a short answer. Put it in one page, because otherwise it's like 4 pages to read almost, right? So, key similarities. Decentralized P2P exchange. The article's direct CBDC exchanges mirrors XRPL's decentralized P2P transactions and RippleNet's intermediary light network. So again, the decentralized P2P exchange that this article, Swift article, is talking about, it mirrors the XRPL's decentralized P2P transactions and RippleNet's intermediary light work. All right. Number 2, real-time cross-border payments. Both the article and Ripple solution, RippleNet and XRP, enable near-instant, low-cost, 24/7 cross-border transfer. Interoperability. The article's MCBDC bridges resemble Ripple's CBDC platform and ILP, Interledger Protocol. Isn't that interesting? Which connect different ledgers for seamless PVP settlement. Payment versus payments. Settlements. Cost reduction. Both aim to lower fees from 5% to less than 1%, 0.1%, and reduce reliance on corresponding banking as seen in RippleNet and XRP. Of course, Ripple replaces corresponding banking, right? Liquidity solutions. The article's real-time Forex market and liquidity provision echo XRP's role as a bridge currency and ILP's connector model. Wholesale CBDC. The article's halfway house for wholesale CBDC aligns with Ripple's institutional solutions for real-time settlements. Transformative potential. Both address institutional redesign, trust building, and adoption challenges, with Ripple emphasizing regulatory compliance and central bank. Ripple's technologies embody the article's goals of efficient, decentralized, interoperable payments, often enhanced by blockchain and XRP. Let me repeat that again. Ripple's technologies embodies it. It embodies exactly what the document here from Swift going back 2022. That's further proof that the shared ledger is the XRP ledger, which again, I will show you at the end here. Now, let's look at another article from Swift. Again, this is done on a Swift website. This is 21st of March, 2024. So again, 21st of March, 2024, 7-minute read, the need for rich data in a shared ledger paradigm. A shared ledger. The concept of a new universal shared ledger for digital payments and assets is gaining interest. Oh no, you don't say. You don't say. Really, it's gaining interest? They've been building on it for years. They're so full of crap, it's unbelievable. Of gaining interest as a way of transforming how transactions are recorded and settled. Oh, settlement. Oh, wow. Isn't that interesting? When combined with a messaging layer, a shared ledger could create a powerful proposition capable of supporting the rich, structured data exchange needed for transactions in regulated assets and money. I told you guys, I've been telling you, for you guys that have been watching all my videos, I've been telling you, the ISO 20022 standard is absolutely crucial for this Internet of Value. It's crucial for the success of RippleNet and the XRP ledger, which is a global agenda. This agenda, you have to understand, this is coming from the BIS, the Bank for International Settlements. And the task was given to the G20, the Financial Stability Board. The task, again, this is coming from the very, very, very high up. This cross-border mandate, building this Internet of Value, is coming from the BIS. It's the central banks for all central banks. And they're using the Financial Stability Board, which I will show in another, oh my goodness, you can't even imagine another deep dive I'm going to show for you guys. But the Financial Stability Board and the CPMI, that's the Committee on Payments and Markets Infrastructure for the BIS. So these are the two literally organizations that are being used to push this, and this trickles down to the G7, the G20, and the IOSCO, which is the International Organizations for Securities Commissions, which talk about a new global stablecoin being backed by global financial assets all over the world, which is a video I just did yesterday or a few days before. So describing Ripple to the T. So, but just understand that this, so anyways, so let's go back here. So when combined with a messaging layer, the messaging layer is the ISO 20022 standard. The messaging needs to be standardized. A shared ledger could create a powerful proposition capable of supporting the rich, structured data exchange needed for transactions in regulated assets or money. Watch this, guys. Over the last 2 years, the potential, again, it's not potential, guys. Anytime, that's how they have to word it, but this is complete BS. It's complete BS. Anytime they say potential, maybe, we could maybe try to see if it could work, it's all BS. This is not theoretical. This is not just a concept that they're looking into. You know, it's not just, oh, is there potential? It's complete BS. They don't want you to know that they're 20 years ahead of what they're telling you. This is why they always have to word their publications like this. Every major organizations have certain standards that they have to follow. They have certain policies, I mean, that they have to follow when they publish stuff. And the policies are coming way from the top. So just so that we sheeple never figure out what the heck's going on. And this is the same for global mainstream media. It's the same for every industry. They have certain policies that they have to follow when they publish stuff. There's things they can say, they don't say. They have to project a certain idea to the public. Okay, so anyways, let's go back here real quick. Over the last 2 years, the potential of a new shared ledger paradigm has been discussed in numerous publications. In its annual economic report 2023, the BIS presented its blueprint. So the BIS I was telling you about, they presented their blueprint for a future monetary system envisaging, I can't even say it in English, I don't know why, but envisaging, I'm butchering that, so they're seeing a vision, their vision, I'll say it this way, their vision, a new type of financial market infrastructure known as a unified ledger, right here, which could capture the full benefits of tokenization. So again, I told you it's coming from the BIS, and I'll show you that in other deep dives. The BIS is the Bank for International Settlements. Like I said, it's the central banks for all central banks, and they presented their blueprint for the future monetary system. Every organization right now that you're seeing, the central bankers, the G7, the G20, the FSB, the IMF, the World Bank, and all the private companies, what they're working on building this internal value, the mandate is coming from the BIS, and they're telling that to you right here. And I'm going to break down another document, another video. You guys are going to be blown away. I have another crazy deep dive for you. Like, this one's going to be crazy. So again, the BIS presented its blueprint. This is a blueprint, guys. Like, everything we're seeing is following the BIS, like I said, and the FSB, the Financial Stability Board, is the right arm of the BIS. And the CPMI, the Committee on Payments Markets Infrastructure, is also the right arm of the BIS. And guess what, guys? Guess what? You know what? I'm going to show you now. So here's a document coming from the Committee on Payments and Markets Infrastructure, the CPMI. This is the BIS, like I was telling you, this committee for the BIS. I'm going to show you that Ripple is the only blockchain company on the Cross-Border Payments Interoperability and Extension Task Force. This is a task force, my friend. This is a task force. The Cross-Border Payments Interoperability Task Force. Ripple is the only blockchain company on this. I'll show you right here. And you have RTGS Global, which is technically using Ripple. Swift. Oh, isn't that interesting? So let's go here. Where is it? Just right here. Ripple. Ripple. Isn't it interesting that Ripple is the only blockchain company on the Committee on Payments and Markets Infrastructure? And right here, they're telling you that the goal of the BIS is that they have a blueprint to create a new types of financial markets infrastructure. The goal is to create a new financial market infrastructure. That's why Gilbert Verdian of Quant, which is providing the interoperability for all the legacy systems to connect into the CBDCs and into the unified ledger, which is the XRP ledger, and connect to all the blockchains same time. Gilbert Verdian said, when he was talking about the regulated liability network, which used to be called the regulated internal value, he said, we also partner with R3 because they are the ones that are bringing over the shared ledger. R3 had a partnership with Ripple. They were given a ton load of XRPs. That's the XRP ledger. I know some people are confused about that. They think R3 is not using XRP ledger. They're confused. I've done a few deep dives on that, clearly showing that. But later on in the video, Gilbert Verdian of Quant Overledger said the goal is to create a new payments markets infrastructure. A new financial market infrastructure. Exactly what they're saying here. That new financial market infrastructure is literally the XRP ledger. And then, like I said, Quant Overledger allows all these systems that exist today to connect into multiple blockchains at the same time. And one of those blockchains is literally the XRP ledger, the shared ledger, unified ledger, so on. So here they're saying, so what is a shared ledger and what sort of, never mind. Actually, I'm just going to skip. I'm going to show you the shared ledger. I'm going to show you here now proof that the shared ledger regulated. I'm going to show you that it's all the XRP ledger. I'm going to show you the proof that it's the XRP ledger. So bear with me. We're going to watch another, guys, for you guys that have watched my videos, you've seen this before. If you've seen it, you don't have to watch from here, guys. You might have seen it 3, 4, 5 times for you guys that have watched all my videos. But like I say in all my videos, 90% of people that are watching my video right now have not seen any of my other videos. It's their first time on my channel. That's what statistics show, that literally everybody watching YouTube video. It's the first time on that channel, so that's why I gotta play this again. So guys, if you haven't watched this, you really don't want to miss this part of the video, because this is crazy what I'm about to show you. Absolutely crazy. This is probably one of my most important videos. I mean, I think I've done a lot of videos, not sound weird, that were very important, but anyways, you don't want to miss this one, because this was the first video that was ever created showing that the regulated liability network, regulated settlement network, unified ledger, shared ledger, FINternet, which is the financial internet of value, regulated of value, it's all the XRP ledger. So this is why this video I'm going to show here is absolutely insane, so important to watch if you haven't watched it. So let's watch it together right now. So right here, Gilbert Verdian, when he's talking about the regulated liability network, he says, we also partnered with R3, who is bringing in the shared ledger where all of the tokenized assets will reside. So he just finished saying that they provide the programmability, interoperability, and the banking grade API for the project. And now he continues to talk.
We're also partnering with R3 on the project, which are bringing in the shared ledger where all the tokenized assets will reside.
So Quant is partnering with R3, who's bringing the shared ledger where all of the tokenized assets reside. Tony McLaughlin from Citibank said that when he was talking about the regulated liability network, City Digital Dispatch, episode 1, regulated liability network, this was about maybe 6 weeks ago. He was talking with Ryan Rugg, head of digital assets for Treasury and Trade for Citi. This is where he talks about 25,000 data centers, 25,000 databases, separate islands of data. He's talking about banks, how they all have different data centers. And shared ledger and blockchain, you've got a common database, essentially. So the question is there a possibility to migrate the traditional banking system? So take same kinds of institution, take the central banks, commercial banks, and fintechs and migrate them onto a shared ledger. What did Gilbert Verdian said? He said, the shared ledger. We're partnering with R3. They're bringing in the shared ledger. And here he says, and that's what the regulated liability network essentially is, the RLN. So now we know that the shared ledger and the regulated liability network is exactly the same thing. So this is a document from Deutsche Bundesbank in July 2023. In this document, they're going to admit that the regulated liability network, when it was originally mentioned by Citi, it was actually called the regulated internet of value. Let's start at the beginning. In essence, the regulated liability network is an interoperable network of commercial banks and central bank liabilities. The aim of the infrastructure is to improve national and international payments by using distributed ledger technology. The concept originates in the article entitled The Regulated Internet of Value, published by Citigroup in 2021. So the first time was ever mentioned, the regulated liability network, the first time was ever mentioned, they called it the regulated internet of value. But they stopped saying that. They said, we can't call it the regulated internet of value because everybody's going to know that's XRP ledger. That's Ripple and the XRP ledger. So we can't call it that. So then they started calling it the regulated liability network. And for the US, they call it the regulated settlement network. Or they say shared ledger technology, or unified ledger, and they're changing names every time so that we can't figure out what the heck it is. Oh, is XRP ledger involved? Is it Quant? So bear with me. So watch right here. Right here. The Bank for International Settlements, BIS, describes the idea of a common programmable platform on which tokenized forms of money circulate as holding great promise. Instead, regulated liability network, instead of RLN, the BIS, the Bank for International Settlements, uses the term unified ledger. Let me say that again. Instead of regulated liability network, the Bank for International Settlement uses the term unified ledger and stresses the importance of governance of a common platform in which the central banks would have to play an important role. In a position paper, the German bank. So now, this document is proving that the BIS calls the regulated liability network, they call it the unified ledger. So now we've got confirmation, if you've been following carefully here, the shared ledger, Gilbert Verdian said they partnered with R3, who's bringing the shared ledger. Tony McLaughlin confirmed that the shared ledger and the regulated liability network is the same thing. I showed you a document saying that the regulated liability network and the regulated internet of value, technically the internet of value, is the same thing, which Ripple built the internet of value. We know it's Ripple. So shared ledger, regulated liability network, and the internet of value, called the regulated internet of value, is all the same thing. Now I've just showed you in this document right here that the unified ledger and the regulated liability network is the same thing as well. So all four are the same. Shared ledger, regulated liability network, regulated internet of value, and the unified ledger are all the same thing. Got it? Got it, guys? Good? Keep watching, my friends. All right, so in this document here, it says right here in blue, the regulated liability network it's a bit cut off there, the way that it was copied. I'm not sure why, but the regulated liability network could bring several benefits. For example, the RLN may offer potential for a new global settlement infrastructure based on regulated issuers and instruments that could support both domestic and cross-border use cases. Isn't that interesting? Cross-border use cases. Where did we hear that 1 trillion times? XRP Ledger, right? Ripple. By including central bank money from multiple jurisdictions, it has the potential to create a global real-time gross settlement. So the regulated liability network has the potential to create a global real-time gross settlement capability. Global real-time gross settlement. Global RTGS. So now we know that the shared ledger, regulated liability network, regulated Internet of Values, technically the Internet of Value, the unified ledger, and the global real-time gross settlement, the global RTGS, are all the same thing. Here in this document, when it's saying that it has the potential to create a global real-time gross settlement, has the potential, they're lying to you here. It's not just potential. It is creating it. It's already created. But as I told you before, these guys always talk as if it's theoretical. It's a theory. It's a concept. We're testing it. We're going to see if it could work. The global real-time gross settlement system was created years ago. They've been planning it for almost 20 years. I'm going to show you a document here. So it's already, according to the timelines that we've seen from the Hyperledger Foundation, it's already fully laid out right now as we speak. 2025, it's laid out. So when they're saying it could, they're lying to you here. It's all they know how to do, these guys, is lie and deceive. It's all they know how to do, the central bankers. So this is a document I showed you before. This came from the Hyperledger Foundation. It is now called the Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust. It's the LF Decentralized Trust is what it's called now. This document surfaced about 8 years ago, give or take. It's almost impossible to find it now. So I do apologize if the document is chopped up there. It's just because I had to merge all the screenshots that I had taken from this document because I can't find it anymore. So again, this is pretty much the most powerful consortium in the world involving all central banks, commercial bank, tech companies, fintechs, corporations, and on. And now it's called the Decentralized Trust. This is a document that came out. It was specifically referring R3, Ripple, and the XRP ledger, and the Interledger protocol. So it was Ripple, R3, and the Interledger protocol were the main players, technically the main players in building this Internet of Value. So ILP, and remember, like I talked in my other videos, when we see the documents coming from the BIS, the Bank for International Settlements, we always see that it's the Interledger protocol that's connecting the unified ledgers. But for now, I just want to jump right here so we don't lose our train of thought here. So this document showed that the global RTGS, remember how I told you this document, the BIS was saying that the regulated liability network could become the global real-time gross settlement. What do you have here, my friends? And I know I showed this for you guys that have seen this before. This is for the people that haven't seen it. So I do apologize for those who've already watched the video, but this is very important to show, because I didn't show it this way. I showed it a bit differently last time. So the global RTGS is the XRP ledger right here. And you have the Interledger protocol, ILP. So the central banks, the RTGS system, all the central banks and the commercial banks, local payments, are connected to the global RTGS, which is the XRP ledger. They're connected via the Interledger protocol, ILP, 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 ILP. And at the bottom here, it says that the Interledger protocol will enable financial institutions and central banks to make their existing infrastructure and processes interoperable with other currencies, asset classes, and the XRP ledger, the global liquidity marketplace, and the global decentralized RTGS. So right here, this document is showing clearly that the XRP ledger is the RTGS. And the document I just showed you said that the regulated liability network could become the global RTGS, which is the XRP ledger. So now we know that the shared ledger, Gilbert Verdian said they partner with R3 for the shared ledger, where all of the tokenized assets will reside. We know that the shared ledger, the RLN, is the same thing because Tony McLaughlin said that. Then we know that it's also called the regulated Internet of Value. And we also know that the BIS, when they talk about the regulated liability network or the shared ledger or Internet of Value, they call it the unified ledger. We have another document. It also says that the BIS also says that the regulated liability network or the unified ledger, same thing, has the potential to become a global RTGS. And here I have a document showing that the XRP ledger is the global RTGS. And let me show you another document So this document from the BIS, we always see this document everywhere. This is the FINternet, financial internet. They're calling the FINternet now because they don't want to say internet of value. So instead of saying internet of value, everybody knows it's Ripple. They call it the FINternet, financial internet, internet of value, financial value. Financial internet of value. They call it the FINternet. You see here, they call it Unified Interledger Protocol now. Like I said, it's the Interledger Protocol. There is no other Interledger Protocol. There's only one, and it's Ripple, the company who built the Interledger Protocol. So they can call it the FART Interledger Protocol. They can call it the PP Interledger Protocol. They call it whatever the heck they want to try to deceive us. So there's only one Interledger Protocol. It's Ripple that built it. The XRP Ledger is built on top of the Interledger Protocol, and the XRP Ledger has a decentralized exchange built on top of the XRP Ledger. Sorry, I said that very quickly. Sorry. The Interledger Protocol was built by Ripple. The XRP Ledger is built on top of the Interledger Protocol. So that's why you're seeing here the Unified Ledger being connected via the Interledger Protocol. So this is a better document. I should have showed you this one instead. So the Interledger Protocol is connecting Unified Ledger 1 to Unified Ledger 2. Unified Ledger 1, Unified Ledger 2. Because, as I explained before, the XRP Ledger has numerous private ledgers. Central banks are building their central bank digital currencies on private ledgers of the XRP Ledger. So they're like a carbon copy clone of the XRP Ledger. It has the same features as the XRP Ledger, except it's a private ledger. I used to say sidechains, but that's not the proper terminology. I shouldn't call it a sidechain. It's technically a private ledger. Some people would say still a sidechain, but I think that the exact proper terminology is to say it's a private ledger, because sidechains are slightly different. And we see that from the interviews from Ripple. I showed that in other video, but that's why you see the Interledger Protocol connecting Unified Ledger 1 to Unified Ledger 2. And right here again, you're seeing what? You're seeing this would be a unified ledger here. So this would be the main unified ledger, the XRP ledger. And then you would have ILP here, ILP, and you have central bank, RTGS system, Bank of Japan, Target 2, Fedwire, which is the US. These are the central banks here, and they're RTGS systems, central banks. So these are private ledgers, private ledgers, private ledger, private ledger. These are unified ledger, and this is the Interledger Protocol connecting to Unified Ledger. So private ledgers or shared ledger, you could call it private ledgers or unified ledgers, because again, they're carbon copy clone of the XRP Ledger. One more thing you see here, you see this diagram here, this is the Enbridge CBDC project. You see how the central bank, Thai Bank, PRC Bank, HQ Bank, that's the Hong Kong Bank, and the United Emirates Banks, these are the central banks here. You see how they're closer to the Enbridge here? You see how all the central banks here. So this is a central bank here. Let me use this one, for example. HK, let me zoom that in for a minute. You don't want to miss this. So Hong Kong Bank here, that's a commercial bank. And HK, Hong Kong Corporation, that's a commercial bank. So that's a central bank. You notice how the central bank is always closer to the bridge? This is a central bank right here. It's closer to the bridge, right? This is the Unified Ledger right here. This is the Enbridge. This is the Unified Ledger right here. This is the XRP Ledger. This is the shared ledger. Call it whatever you want. This is the regulated Internet of Value right here. But notice how the central banks are all closer to the Unified Ledger, to the bridge here. And then the commercial banks are always sitting a bit further. The commercial banks are always behind the central banks. You see right here? You see here? These are commercial banks. They're all behind their respective central banks. They're behind. Don't miss this, guys. Watch one sec. So we're going to look at this document here again. You see the global RTGS right here. You see the central banks. This is Bank of Japan, Target 2, Fedwire. This is the Federal Reserve for the US. Bags, this I think is the UK. And I think this is Russia. But these are all central banks. These are the RTGS. These are central banks. See how the central banks here are right next to the XRP Ledger? They're all next to the XRP Ledger. And you see how the commercial banks here are behind the central banks. So here's the commercial banks. They're behind the central banks. You have commercial banks, central banks, and then you have the XRP Ledger. That's the Enbridge right here. So let's look at that again. Exact same design here. You got the central banks that are closer to the XRP Ledger, and then commercial banks are behind. They're behind. Central banks right next to the XRP Ledger, and then commercial banks are behind the central banks. So the central banks are between the XRP Ledger and the commercial. Central banks are between the XRP Ledger and the commercial banks. So exact same design. And I could show you 100 million pictures like that. So now I'm going to show you a video here. So this is one of the head guys at the BIS. So I think this is the head technologist head of technology for the BIS, and he's going to describe the unified ledger, and he's going to explain how the unified ledger replaces Swift. And we all know that Ripple replaces Swift. Show you a million clips of Brad Garlinghouse saying, we're replacing Swift, we're replacing Swift. So the unified ledger, the shared ledger, regulated liability network, regulated settlement network, the regulated Internet of Value, which is what it was originally called, but they changed the name because they can't say that. Everybody knows that's Ripple. Those 5 different terminologies, including the Finternet, this is all the XRP ledger. They're using different names to confuse you, like I've said a million times in my videos. Excuse me. And I'm going to keep repeating that. So all of these different words that they're using, it's all the XRP ledger, but Quant Overledger provides the programmability for the money and for the unified ledger. But Quant Overledger is not the unified ledger, and Quant Overledger is not the Finternet, but it is extremely complementary to the Finternet. So I just want to say that for any of you that are in the quant community that are thinking that the unified ledger or Finternet or shared ledger is quant, it is not.
Those kind of applications, the canonical application there would be payment versus delivery, where you pay if and only if the seller of the asset will then deliver the security or whatever the asset might be. So these kind of transactions currently are done separately. So there's a messaging network, and you're familiar with Swift probably, but the settlement is done separately through the bookkeeping operations along the chain of financial intermediaries. But if we have the unified ledger that have both central bank money and commercial bank deposits all on the same platform, we can have all of those transactions take place instantaneously at the same time.
So keep in mind, this is the same institution. This is the Bank for International Settlements, the BIS. This is a guy from the BIS talking about unified ledger replacing Swift. This is the same institution that's hosting Project Mariana that I was showing you earlier. Project Mariana is talking about a transnational network where all the central banks in the world can do cross-border payments. They can settle wholesale CBDCs against one another. So my friends, I really need your help to get this information out so that the XRP community and everybody else can know that it's all the XRP ledger. This is the most important thing for the XRP community to know right now, because everyone is confused. Some people think, oh, maybe the regulated liability network uses the XRP ledger, and no, it's all the XRP ledger. And only my content is showing that. So I'm asking for your help because I can't do it alone. I can produce the content and I can prepare it, but I can't share it with everybody. So if you could please help me out by sharing this video with everyone. And mainly, most importantly, is really sharing it with the influencers, right? With the XRP influencers, the XRP YouTubers, the big XRP X accounts, people who have big followings on X. And the best way to do it is just you copy paste and you share it on their profiles. You share it on their top 3 posts. So if they tweet something, for example, so you would go here, for example, you search digital asset. So because every one of you knows different YouTubers, different XRP influencers, right? You might know somebody has 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, and they're the ones that will be able to reach the masses because they have their whole following that they can show it to, that they can show clips of my content or watch the whole video, or they can just do their own video if they want, but just to get the information out. So for example, the best way is you would go find an influencer. If you could do it with like at least 5 or 10, or if some of you can do it with 30 of them, it would be just really appreciated because it's the only way I can get the information out. 4 to 6 million people in the XRP community, I think, even maybe more. And nobody knows this. Everybody's confused about this. And this is the most important point. People need to find out. This is all the same thing. And XRP is the new financial market infrastructure, is the Internet of Value. And they're deceiving people. So right here, for example, you would go digital asset investor and you would just comment. Copy my video and go into comments and paste my video here. But you'd have to make sure, you'd have to say something like, hey, this is the most important XRP video to watch. You have to say a comment like that to make them realize this is not just an average video just talking about Ripple does cross-border payments. This is a very important video. So you have to make a comment that will make people to watch it. And you would do that for his top 3 videos for digital asset investors. So you would copy paste it here, you would copy paste it here, and you would copy paste it here with the comment. So you would have the comment and the YouTube URL. And then you would do it for as many as you're willing, guys. If you're willing to do it with 30, 40, 50, that's great. It'd be so much appreciated. But if you can at least do it with 5 or 6 or 10 influencers, so again, we all know different influencers, right? So you want to go maybe with Mickle and XRP Bags, James Rules, so many of them, right? Cobb, XRP Crypto Wolf, whoever are the XRP influencers that you know, right? There's so many of them, right? Big, small, whatever. But let's get the information out, guys. Please help me do this, because I'm getting maybe 10,000 views on my YouTube videos. And like I said, the community is 4 to 6 million people, right? Plus the communities that should know the truth about XRP, but they're so blinded about Bitcoin and these other tokens that don't even have 5% of the utility that XRP has. So I'm asking for your help, guys. That's how I'm going to get the message out. This is how I'm going to get this crucial information out to the XRP community. It's only by your help. So thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate your support. I really appreciate all the beautiful comments that you guys are leaving in my channel. It really means a lot. I see them, I read them, I try to respond to every one of them as much as I can, but I'm trying to create a lot of content for you guys at the same time. So sometimes I'm not able to reply to all of them. So as my channel grows, obviously it gets harder and harder to reply to all the comments, but I see them and I just want you to know that I appreciate you very much. And I really appreciate the encouraging words you're leaving. So nice. And so please like and subscribe. I'm wishing you a great night, great evening, great day wherever you are. And God bless you so much. Thank you.